Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you each and every day this summer by Ketone IQ. We're talking about Stage 18. Alain, what do we do?
Stage 18, Moutier to Bourg-en-Bresse. Moutier to Bourg-en-Bresse.
So good. It's so good. We were out mountain biking yesterday, and me and George and the head of HR, and we ran into another French guy on the top of Cozy Line Trail. Alex, the sommelier from Cash Cash.
Yes, he's looking good.
And I was tempted to make like an Alain competition video. And I have a feeling, look, there's quite a few French people in Aspen here. And word is getting around. Like this fucking Alain guy, he's every year. I think the other French people are jealous.
It's getting competitive.
And probably, mix it up. Like Alain, you can have the first week. Oof. Alex, you can have the second week.
That might stir a couple feathers amongst the French group.
I know.
I could see why that would appeal to French to live here for our listeners all over the world. This looks like a little French village.
It does.
To a degree.
Yeah.
Maybe more Swiss, but
yeah.
It's a lot more expensive.
You know what I do find interesting is that Aspen has become such a summer destination, right? And a lot of the places that you see during the tour, both the Pyrenees and the Alps, especially the Alps, those are really winter destinations. Like you don't see, they're not real big summer towns like they are in the winter.
Well, they're starting to become, because what are they doing? They're building mountain bike trails. Turning them into summer towns.
Yes. Fantastic stage win by Kasper Asgreen. Saves the day for QuickStep. We've been talking about it. We'll break down all that action. But before we do, today's show brought to you by AG1. It is our daily foundational nutrition supplement. We start our day with it every day. For me, I love how the founder really was initially in pursuit of better gut health. And I think all of us can really think about this and use it. And as I track a lot of the folks out there that really know what they're doing and really know how to quote unquote hack your health and your wellness and your longevity, folks like Peter Attia, Andrew Huberman, they are such huge fans of AG1. I kind of heard that and I was like, all right, that's enough for me. So it is truly a game changer for me. And by the way, I was just drinking it, and it tastes damn good. It's one of these things you drink and you're like, all right, I'll take control of my health.
You don't need a blender to whip it up.
No.
It's just quick shake and you're good to go.
That's right. 75 high-quality ingredients that give us key daily nutrients and support energy, focus, strength, and clarity, all for less than $3 a day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, which yours truly is super low in vitamin D. I still don't understand why. I'm outside all the time, but I'm hammering the vitamin D that they sent me. Plus 10 free AG1 travel packs. You can do the math on that. 10 free travel packs. Head on over to drinkag1.com/themove. Again, that's drinkag1.com/themove. Also today brought to you by Roka, who has completely invented a new class of eyewear. Glasses optimized for performance and also look sick on the casual side and also on the prescription side. JB's rocking the prescription ones. I've got the readers here. I'm very proud of Mr. Hincap, but we're almost done with his Tour de France. And you have not lost the Roka readers that I gave you.
I thought you forgot about them and then became my readers.
Well, we can talk about that. You've behaved. By the way, I want to check on your tooth here in a second. But they do have the best optics on the market. No other sunglasses compare. Crystal clear, fog resistant, and scratch resistant. And if you're like me and you sweat a lot, they will not slip and slide off your face.
I'll tell you what, this man puts these things to the test because he's dripping sweat constantly.
It is true. I know.
I mean, I ain't ever seen anything like it.
I know.
Every time I put my hand on your back to a photo or something, it's like just this sloppy sweat hand coming off.
Right, but my Rokas aren't slipping off. So there you go.
Solid.
Don't touch me. How about that? I don't like when people touch me.
Touch them in Texas.
Oh God,
twice as much.
Also, hand built in our hometown of Austin, Texas. By the way, Austin, love you. Looking forward to getting back down there full time. And the crew at Roka, man, they train their ass off too. I don't know if you follow their socials. Obviously, we're talking about how great their glasses are, but man, they have a whole gym build out. These guys and gals over there, they practice what they preach. It's pretty impressive to see. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roka, that's ROKA.com, Roka.com. Enter the code THEMOVE for 20% off. Well, Patrick Lefebvre sleeping a little better tonight. It's been a disaster of a tour for QuickStep.
Yeah, I mean, they threw
until today.
They threw a Hail Mary pass today. They went from the gun with Kasper Asgreen, former Tour de Flanders winner, incredible cyclist. But they're running out of options. And you can see they're sort of making desperation moves. And you know what? Today ended up being a super exciting day, albeit I was fighting with Lance the whole time because he was trying to watch the U.S. Open golf.
The Open. It's in England.
Okay, never mind.
Liverpool.
That shows you how much I know about golf. But
the U.S. Open has happened.
We turned on that TV in his office with 15K to go, and you start seeing what did I mention yesterday? It's not an easy task at stage 18 of the Tour de France after riding all these mountains to control a breakaway. And you saw those 2 or 3 Alpecin Phoenix guys in the front, 1 or 2 Jaco Alula guys, but there wasn't full squads up there. Why? Because everybody's exhausted, and you got a breakaway like Kasper Asgreen, Capernauts, the 2 other guys. Those guys can haul ass, and they rode really smartly. They never got more than 1 minute and 45 seconds. So it gives the peloton sort of a little bit of an easier state of mind, thinking, they're not that far away, we'll get them. But you give a guy like Kasper Asgreen and Capernauts a head start. You see how arrow they are. Those guys, it's like a team time trial. Right. And we just slowly started thinking 10K to go. These guys may actually make it. There was not much organization. You saw Alaphilippe doing the JB move, disrupting the chase.
I told these guys this was the only thing I was ever good at. Yeah, in amateur bike racing is disrupting the chase.
You rarely see that in pro cycling. You see it all the time in amateur cycling, but in pro cycling, it's kind of like not that ethical. Well, you know what? Yeah. It's Alaphilippe. The guy can do what he wants. He's a former world champion. He's won every race you can win. So he's up there messing up the brake. He's pissing people off. He's getting in their head. They stayed away. It was an incredibly exciting stage.
Yeah, that's it. I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's very hard to get 4 guys together. By the way, they never had more than 1 minute 45. Right? A lot of times these breaks, they'll let them slip out there 3, 4, 5 minutes. Minute 45 is nothing. But to get them to agree and work together is very difficult, especially as you start to get closer. Then one guy goes, there's in the beginning we had a 1% chance of making it. As closer they get, now we have a 25% chance to make. Guys start skipping pulls, sitting on. That disrupts the whole thing. For them to stay together like a true 4-man team time trial was pretty awesome. And then Campenarts is time trial beast. I mean, former hour record holder. Wins a lot of time trials, so you had guys like that could drive it. You had 2 guys from Lotto in there.
He's got to be one of the most aerodynamic guys.
Yeah, the position.
In the bunch.
If you go back and watch the race, he's got this whole thing where the brake hood's in and he's so low. But by the way, also Kasper Asgreen's no panic cooking, right? He obviously won Tour of Flanders. He's been second in Tour of Flanders. He won Kern-Breslau-Kern. He's a real man of the classics, which of course QuickStep is the best there is out there.
Not only that, he beat Van der Poel in the sprint in the Tour of Flanders, right. So he's got a very good sprint on him, especially after a hard day like today. But also Lotto, what an awesome tactical race they rode. This guy Icahn attacked on the KOM, 65K to go. Campenarts waited for him. I mean, you don't see things like that in a race like the Tour de France, where guys are just sort of slipping away from the bunch. They're letting him go. He catches back up to the breakaway. Then now you have, instead of 3 strong guys, 4 real strong guys with the same goal to make it to the finish line and working together really well. You
know what's funny is I get this question a lot from folks, and it hasn't happened. It almost happened today, but for people who don't watch a lot of cycling, and they'll tune in every now and again, and they'll see the break get away, and they don't watch cycling, so they'll see that the break has 5 minutes, and they're like, this is over. If they continue to watch, I mean, how many times have we seen that break or any break get caught in the last kilometer, right? It happens. And so for the novice fan or the new fan, they say, how is it that they always catch them right at the end? Yeah. Well, they usually do. 90+% of the time they do. It's a mathematical equation, right? Just how much time do you have to chew back per kilometer? But boy, a day like today, you just don't see it very often that they look out. I mean, by the way, the breakaway and the field that was sprinting for, I guess, 5th, same time, right? There was no gap. So it was that close. So to your point of disrupting the chase or a guy or 2 starting to sit on, that makes all the difference. But they timed it perfect.
We've talked about this before, but it's been some time. Maybe you can elaborate on is the art of the break. So in the break, they're getting time checks, and they don't want to go too far. there's if they
Right.
keep it within a certain gap, the peloton's gone, hey, we got this.
Right.
So they might have been easing up from time to time just to
Yeah.
keep it within reach.
Not might have been. They definitely were planning that. They rode steady within themselves. They probably made an agreement and a pact with probably 50, 60K to go. We'll ride steady for now. With 15K to go, we will all go all in together. 4 guys, team time trial. And it looked like they all agreed to it because nobody was missing a pull. So you get a group like that with strong guys and sprinter teams that aren't quite all there. A lot of these guys are running on fumes from getting over the mountains. So they're not all there. They all knew this, and they took advantage of that fact and pulled off an incredible victory.
And it isn't just the peloton that's getting the time checks. Those 4 guys up front are getting real-time time gaps to the group, so they can feather it, right? And if they're starting to pull it back, they can and they have to conserve, right? You can't get out there and go that hard, 4 guys the whole race. Like there's a science, or rather, not even a science. There is a science to it, but it's kind of an art form of just keeping it there. And then once the field starts to come, you can tell when the group behind starts to accelerate. Then you have to accelerate.
And with all the dynamics that we just talked about in this breakaway, they still would have gotten caught if it wasn't for Victor Campenaerts, who led out his teammate from essentially 1,500 meters ago to 500 meters ago. Without that last 1 kilometer full gas pull, they would have gotten caught.
Yeah,
you saw they still caught him at the line, but the team put all of the faith on Eichhorn. He ended up getting second place, but incredibly impressive ride by that whole breakaway squad. I thought it was amazing. It was and like I keep saying, just really exciting.
Mm-hmm. We had a notable non-starter today. Wout van Aert went home. There's been talk and speculation that he would pull out. His wife is due any day now.
And his work is done with that 7+ minute gap.
Yeah, I think if anything speaks to the fact that the tour, from an overall standpoint, is over, that's your answer.
You
right?
think Wout got on the bus like, anything else you want from me?
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah.
And what else we got coming up in August? A little small race called the World Championship.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. You never know. Maybe he's got the baby and another thing in his back of his mind.
Yeah, that's been the talk all along.
We have to address something from yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. It was partially this show, partially JB Squared. Just looking at all the emails and comments, we have pissed off the Jonas Vingegaard lovers. They felt like, and I can hear where they're coming from. I don't think this was our intention, but they felt like we were really not giving Jonas the credit he deserved for the win. We were kind of blaming it on Pogačar. Oh, maybe he's sick. He doesn't have Alan Piper directing anymore. His season wasn't planned out perfectly. And so they're taking it as, man, why are you hating on this kid who just crushed it?
Hating would be a little bit strong. I mean, I think I've been pretty clear. I mean, I've called his performances exceptional, extraordinary, dominant.
Maybe from another planet.
That's for others to say. But look, it doesn't change the fact that Tadej Pogačar has her. If anything, we're being critical of Tadej Pogačar's run up to the Tour, the personnel on the team. That's his problem, right? And that has nothing to do with Jonas Vingegaard, right? If his job is to show up July 1st, put the numbers on the back, and be ready. And by the way, that's good. I mean, I always liked it, when you'd see a rider show up that was either overweight or had a problem that you knew was going to make it easier for you. What's the big deal? But I don't want to take anything away from Jonas Vingegaard. And if that's the impression, boy, I don't know how you say I'm sorry in Danish, but hats off to him. I thought he rode a hell of a dominant race. And yeah, if you're watching the same race we are, you have to agree something is up with Pogačar, right? That's not a criticism of Jonas Vingegaard.
Right.
Something that is not the same rider of last year, which, by the way, he couldn't win last year, and it's certainly not the rider of 3 or 4 years ago. So, but that doesn't take anything away from Vingegaard. He's winning by 7.5 minutes. I don't know, miles ahead, literally.
Yeah, I think we were even going to give him the boomstick yesterday and forgot.
Okay.
We can save that for Saturday.
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe he'll get that on Sunday.
That's a Sunday boomstick. Look, And the only other thing I will say is I am surprised to see such domination. But I think that's awesome. I love to see somebody go out there and prove people wrong and absolutely destroy the field. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, you could just, looking back how the first 2 weeks went and the way that how Pogačar was so aggressive from stage one, trying to make a breakaway on the top of the last climb on the first stage. And Jonas from stage one was like, I'm good. We're away. I want to wait for my teammates. He came in with a much more calmer approach, and I feel like a much more confident approach. And looking back, it's almost like, they went all in for that time trial, and we're going to go all in for that final week, and they put the nail in the coffin yesterday.
Yeah, and I think where people got this impression that we weren't giving Jonas the love, part of JB squared was more about Johan was just trying to explain that once you've won the tour is the objective. Because I even said, what if he hadn't won the tours, the two previous tours, and look at the season, 3 classics and second in the Tour de France. Everyone would have been going, most amazing season ever. But if you've won the tour before, that's all that matters.
I agree.
Was the point that Johan was trying to make.
I agree. We can talk more about that later. That's
also an indication of the way they set up their team. I mean, Jumbo has a team for the classics and they have a team for the tour. They have some overlap, but there's no pressure on a guy like Jonas getting results early in the season. UAE, on the other hand, they got Pogačar. Of course, they have some really good riders, but Pogačar is the only guy that can win, from the start of the season to the end of the season. So I feel like there's a bit more pressure on Pogačar, but they need to start making decisions on, if they want to only go for the Tour de France, maybe get a couple more classic riders, get the pressure off Pogačar.
And the pressure from the sponsor.
And the pressure from the sponsor.
That's what also Johan was trying to clarify. It's like, to UAE, this is the biggest stage in the Tour de France.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. By far.
They want
to. And we're going to talk. We're going to show a clip at the end of the show here about something that we found interesting, just about the viewership numbers around the Tour de France. How many people watch the race on television worldwide? So stay tuned for that, and of course our follow-up thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on that one, but before we do, and as you just heard, George likes to make fun of me because I do sweat. I go out there, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I mean, although I sweat less now than I used to. You get fitter, and follow me here, and you lose a little weight, and things are easier, right? So I'm actually sweating less than normal. But nonetheless, I sweat a lot. But how do I replace it? I replace it with Element. It's my go-to rehydration source. It's amazing. The brand is blowing up. You're seeing it everywhere now. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, no sugar, no gluten, no artificial BS in it. It is amazing. Our listeners can get a free Element sample pack with any order when you head on over to drinklmnt.com/themove. One more time, that's drinklmnt.com/themove. And you get your sweat on and start replacing. Also today brought to you by HVMN, our presenting sponsor, the makers of Ketone IQ. They were the first to make a drinkable ketone back in 2017. Ketone IQ is their latest innovation on ketones with improved effectiveness, taste, and cost. By the way, we should have asked Michael. I wonder if that's why I sweat more. That could have been I'm looking for excuses on why I sweat. I don't like that. I mean, it's a little embarrassing. But Ketone IQ also delivers clean fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier, supplying your brain and body sustained energy, mental focus, and sharpness, putting you in flow, lasting for hours. You can save 30% off your first subscription order of Ketone IQ at hvmn.com/themove. Again, that's hvmn.com/themove. Last one of the day, today's show brought to you by Helix Sleep. Boy, you should have seen my sleep score this morning. So between my 8 sleep cover but my mattress, which I've been sleeping on the Helix Sleep mattress for years now. It's been well over 2 years. It's been a game changer for me. The fully customized mattress. I went on and took their 2-minute sleep quiz, talked about the characteristics of my sleep, and they make the mattress custom. And so it's special for me. I know, George, you've been sleeping on it just almost the same amount of time. And even though you're a little crankier this year.
We everybody here at the We Do Studio noticed how well you slept because you came to the studio in your pajamas this morning. Forgot to take your pajama pants off, which you guys got to see.
We're going to get
at
to
some
that.
point.
We're going to get to that in a second.
Today.
But the Helix lineup includes 14 unique mattresses, luxury models, mattresses for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. And they also just introduced the newest, most high-end collection called Helix Elite. That sounds like something George would like. By the way, don't take our word for it. Helix has been awarded the #1 mattress by GQ and Wired magazines. They also have over 12,000 five-star reviews. Helix Sleep is offering up to 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/themove. That's helixsleep.com/themove. All right, let's get this out of the way. I know everybody, I was talking about Karate Kid yesterday, and this has nothing to do with any of that, right? But I got busted. I was just leaving the house. By the way, look, I don't really give a shit anyways, whatever, what I look like. And we're sitting at a desk. So it's one of these things like, I like to wear the We Do shirt or the hat or whatever, but downstairs, who gives a shit? Like I could wear a grape smuggler. I just don't, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to see it.
Grape smuggler.
And look what the team did to me today. I was just minding my own business.
Fuck off.
It's
going on.
Mr. Miyagi pants.
Bell bottom high water. Let's go.
HR chases me down the hallway. Look at this.
Show me sunglasses. Yeah. Good, Danielson. Show me door open.
I mean, that is just, I've got my AG1 in hand. I'm just minding my own business. But here's the thing, all right? These are so comfortable. I don't even know why somebody sent me these pants, and I just put them on this morning. I was like, yes.
If someone sent you pants, you would remember who sent you pants.
No, have you seen how much shit shows up at his house?
That's true. He's an exception to that.
It's just, I appreciate y'all just capturing those moments. I summed it up best. I knew y'all were messing with me, and I just was minding my own business, and I just said, y'all can, you heard what I said.
We're going to show another thing just for fun before we look at tomorrow. And this is a social clip that I think has been sent to all of us to kind of get your brain around how popular the Tour de France is.
Guess the top 5 most watched sporting events. I feel like I could do this. I think you can too. World Cup is #1. That's #2. Shocking. Are you sure? Yep. Does the Olympics count? Yes, the Olympics count. Where is that? Which one? These Summer Olympics. Summer Olympics is #4. Winter Olympics. Winter Olympics is #5. Super Bowl. Super Bowl is not on there. Damn it. Is it a championship over in soccer? The only thing is World Cup for soccer. Can't be cricket. Cricket World Cup is #3. Cricket World Cup. 2.6 billion viewers. The other one, rugby? No. Well, it's not an American sport. It's a worldwide sport, but the event doesn't take place in America. I don't even know what other sports there are. Do you want me to tell you? Yeah. Tour de France. 3.5 billion viewers.
Bam.
Yeah, that's... I'm curious. I'd love to see where those numbers come from. We know the event is viewed around the world, right? And you see it, especially when you're at the tour. You see all of the different countries represented and all the different networks that have bought the rights that are there,
and all the streaming options we have now,
right,
as opposed to 20 years ago.
But here's the thing, all right? If you look at that list and you look at, and I'm going to make this all about money, right? If you look at all of those other events, 2 through 5, and we're not even, Super Bowl wasn't even on there, right? NBA Finals wasn't on there. The World Series wasn't on there. Look at the amount of money that is invested and involved in that sport. Why? And you look at cycling, right? There's guys out here riding around in the Tour de France that are making less than 6 figures, right? That makes absolutely no sense, right? If those numbers are right, we have a problem. And I have talked a lot about this and how this sport needs to reimagine and restructure, and
give riders more power.
Well, obviously, give more riders more. I would argue also. I think, and I think about this a lot. I think the first thing to do is to give team owners more power. The fact that there's no franchise model, there's no equity built in this sport. You look at if let's just pretend for a second that those numbers are real. 3.5 billion viewers around the world. That's half of the world. How are these not actual franchises, just like the Dallas Cowboys or just like the New York Yankees, right? You know what equity there is in cycling? The only equity in cycling, and we've read the reports that Patrick Lefevre is is interested or is thinking about selling his stake in QuickStep.
And it should be worth in the billions.
But it's only worth whatever existing contracts you have in place from your title sponsor, your supporting sponsors, all of these. That's it. That is the only equity. Anybody can enter
the
this
World
game.
Cup license.
But just is peanuts, right? So I think we should take a step back, franchise this whole thing, make the teams or the franchises, put them up for whether it's an auction or some sort of number, and you own the franchise and you build the team. And I think it's crazy. And so that's what I think. Yeah, it's
There's no question that there's a real intricate value in marketing for these companies, like AG2R, companies that want to promote their products on a global stage. But like you said, Lance, there is no franchise value.
Right.
And that's a major problem.
You've been a part of a development team, I know, and a pro continental team, and it's like you were throwing everything at it for the love of the sport, not for money.
Right. And I think if there is real value put into the franchises, I think that trickles down to the riders and the staff and everybody. And that, obviously cycling is very different, right? If you compare to the NFL, which of course a lot of us watch mostly here in the US, and you compare that to the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is a genius, right? Let's not be mistaken. He bought the Dallas Cowboys for $180 million. People thought he was crazy. And the team is the most valuable sports franchise in the world. But he also owns the stadiums. He owns the practice facilities. He owns all the real estate around it. So that is different. But nonetheless, just his stake and his equity in that star in the Dallas Cowboys is worth billions of dollars. And I think we have to look at that. And that falls on the way the UCI wants to manage the sport. It also falls on ASO, how they want to manage the biggest event in the world. They are so controlling when it comes to that event, and because they control that event, they also control the sport. There has to be some change, and I'm talking about it. I think it's a long ways off, if never.
Yeah, I agree. We've been talking about this for many years, and there hasn't been much change.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at tomorrow. This isn't over yet.
Well, it's almost over. Yes.
You guys give me your thoughts on tomorrow. I think it's the next day that's going to be a little more challenging.
Look, this is a lumpy stage. I mean, you potentially could see we are going to see another breakaway. It could potentially make it to the end.
And JB, you guys were mentioned earlier, how many teams have not won a stage?
There's of the ones that I sort of think about it in the way that what teams had not won a stage that if they were to leave as so, they would be wildly disappointed. The last one was really QuickStep. I mean, now we're left with teams that knew there was no guarantee. QuickStep sort of going in felt like we'll at least win a stage. Now you're down to other teams that some were happy.
It's a long shot.
Yeah, some were happy
Not
to just get
expected.
the invite, get to the big stage. But QuickStep was the last of the ones that really had to win a stage.
Still going to be a lot of desperation amongst the teams that have not, which is going to make the racing crazy aggressive from the start, which, as we see in the profile, is super lumpy.
Very
It's
lumpy.
going to be a tough start tomorrow.
Yeah. Never flat tomorrow. And then a tough one on Saturday. I mean, it's almost over, right? But it is as we know, you got to ride all the way to. Jonas Vingegaard has to get through Paris, so he has to stay. He's not going to lose the Tour on power or on skill or on what he's done so far, but you still got to get there. It's just a question of being safe.
If it's a breakaway day this late in the Tour, good reason to listen to outcomes.
I'm super curious. These are the days they're just masters at.
Spencer.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't a breakaway day. tomorrow.
Spencer picked Felix Gall the other day. Like he just this is where it could pay off really big on a $5 bet. If you want to do that, go to wedo.team season pass. Today's Ventum Trivia, GS1. We're going to be giving away, an NS1 road bike in just a few days here. Yesterday's question was who was the first American to win the Tour de France? That, of course, was Greg LeMond. Today's question, who is this year's youngest rider? This year's youngest rider.
Oh, in the entire Tour?
In the entire Tour. Look it up, send it in, email your answer to trivia@ventumracing.com. and you'll go in the drawing for that NS1.
Yep.
All right. Couple questions for you guys. This is funny. After stage 17, Johan mentioned how cycling is the most beautiful sport. I'm sure your listeners agree. But as I drove on my normal commute, my mind was wandering to how Johan thinks of other sports. So to that ask, what would it be? What would it be like to get like a JB squared, add Lance and George, and simulcast a podcast with the four of you watching a single inning of baseball? I suspect Johan would be unable to make heads nor tails of how Americans get so excited about our national pastime.
Right.
That's a funny scenario. That's from Jeff in Maine.
Yeah. I can't watch a lot of baseball.
I can't either.
I'll tune into the World Series, but boy, a regular season game, game number 42 of the two last place teams. No, thank you.
But it's just a funny twist on the intricacies of this sport that Johan knows better than anybody.
Right.
Like if we made him sit down and watch American football, he would be asking just the most rookie questions, and it would be funny to explain. Yep. Here's another one. Someone who embodies all these qualities is Johan. Sorry, I cut it. It was a little short there. Do Lance and George think they could have won 7 Tours de France if Johan left the team after 2 wins? That's a great scenario. They go on to say, was it something special about Johan? That's all the best from Sam in Richmond, UK.
Well, so I'm assuming that's in relative or in relation to how we were talking about Pogačar not having Alan Piper, which of course he did have on right by his side for the first 2 tours. George, do you even want to answer that question, or because if you do, I'd like to ask you to go first.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think Johan was the master tactician, not only throughout the stages when he made the plan, but also in the pre-planning to decide which guys would actually do the tour. I mean, for example, even though I was part of all 7, I was never guaranteed a spot in the tour, and Johan made it very clear. Of course, it was insulting at times, but he wanted to always make sure that I would be 100% ready to work for Lance and that I was fit enough to be at the tour. And he would always make it clear that it was not a guarantee, even though I had been part of so many from the last one that he won. So I don't think we would have won 7 without him.
That's hilarious. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
I did not.
Many times he'd call me like,
2004,
hey, you know
2005.
there's no guarantee, huh? I go, fuck, Johan, I've been part of like 5-6 years.
That is
still not guaranteeing
What's
me.
do you remember like the latest you got the notification that you're going to the tour?
I mean,
like 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months? I have no clue.
That's probably about a month.
About a month.
That I don't believe he. I believe he said that. I don't believe he thought that. I think that was.
You have to ask him on JB.
That's hilarious.
No, that's good.
Look, I mean, it would have been very difficult. And he was obviously a very close friend of mine, and as you all know, still to this day is. But it would have been a real struggle. And just, I mean, you can take strategy and motivation out of it. I mean, it's the buildup, as George said. It's just the structure of the season, and his true commitment. Like the guy was, and you see it when you listen to the show. I mean, the way he follows the sport now. He's not even in the sport as a director. But imagine if he was, it would be 10x. He was unmatched. It would be the same as if Bill Belichick left the Patriots, at the height of the Brady's run. It would be different. It'd be difficult, right? Belichick is the greatest of all time, and Johan Brunel is the greatest of all time, and Alan Piper is amazing too. So you take those types of minds and presences, right? It's also just about the presence, whether it's a stern, motivating presence or whether it's a calming presence. You take that away, and the entire dynamic changes. It would have been very, very difficult. I wouldn't have wanted to think about it.
Yeah, as you said, you did whatever he said, whatever came in your earpiece. That was the game plan.
Yeah, no, I was very coachable, JP.
All right. If you have a question, there's just a handful of remaining shows, but we'd love to hear from you. And maybe
until we get to the women's tour.
Yeah, that's right.
Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift.
Our second year doing that, and it kicks off the day the men end in Paris. So, yeah, more to come. The Move at WeDo.team.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.